Hey there! If you're here, it means you're setting up my customizable PNGtuber Plus model that corresponds with my pick crew. While I cover all the basic things you'll need to know to set up the model, this is not a comprehensive guide to PNGtuber Plus. Please refer to my dedicated tutorials on my YouTube for that. Before we begin setting up a model, please make sure you have the following items either downloaded or pulled up on the side. The Tsukuru PNGtuber Plus files from my Ko-fi, PNGtuber Plus version 1.4.5 by Kayakaros from their itch.io or Steam page, and of course my pick crew, which can be found in the description below. We'll start with familiarizing ourselves with PNGtuber Plus and the templates. For now, we'll start in this mode, where the background should be transparent. If it isn't, you might be stuck in editing mode. Just hit the X in the upper left-hand corner, and that should take you back to viewing mode. We're going to make sure that all of your default settings are changed to something more appropriate for this model. First, we'll adjust some overall settings. Above the pencil, you should see a little gear icon. Open that to access the settings. Please make sure your frames per second is set to 60 at most, your bounce force to somewhere between 70 to 100, and your bounce gravity somewhere between 500 and 520. Having too high an FPS can cause the animation to look very jittery, and while you can mess around with the bounce force and bounce gravity sliders, these are the parameters that work best with my templates. Now we'll enter editing mode. To do so, click on the pencil in the bottom right hand corner. Your background should turn opaque and you should see some new icon. Clicking on any sprite will bring up the physics panel. If you want to navigate lower, just hover your cursor downwards or upwards. If you want to hide the physics panel, just click anywhere that is empty. To easily navigate your layers, make sure the eye icon here is open, after which you can click directly on specific layers in order to find them. While you're in editing mode, you can hit the escape key to bring up the directory for PNGtuber Plus. This directory is where you'll want to drop the entire Tsukuru folder if you haven't yet already. And if you ever get lost using PNGtuber Plus, again, I have tutorials up on my YouTube, or you can click on the little info button in the corner, and it will tell you what all the keybinds are. Before we start setting up a new model, let's go over what files are provided when you purchase a Tsukuru. Upon opening up the Tsukuru folder, you should be greeted with the following subfolders. We have guides, placeholders, save files, sprites, and an empty folder titled Your Saves. Starting with guides, this subfolder contains infographics for navigating files more easily. Each one is numbered to match a subfolder in the sprites folder. Please note that everything in the infographic also matches the order of items shown on the pick crew. The next folder are placeholders. These are empty images that preserve rigging in unwanted categories. TLDR, if there's something you want removed from your avatar entirely, you can replace it with an empty image here instead of deleting it. Moving on to the save files. These .save files are the rigging templates. You'll be loading these as a starting point and saving your own version in your own saves. Please note that unless you are making an object head, the only save file you should be interacting with is the human.save file. Otherwise, each object head comes with its own unique rigging. And now our biggest folder, sprites. These contain all of the image assets used to customize your PNGtuber. I highly recommend having either the guides pulled up or the pick crew pulled up on the side to more easily navigate all the items. And finally, we have our empty folder, Your Saves. To prevent you from accidentally overwriting a template save, you can save your own .save files in this folder instead. Let's load in one of the templates so you can see how to translate the layer names to the actual sprite items. In editing mode, you'll want to hit Load Avatar. You'll want to open the Tsukuru folder, go to Save Files, and then load a .save of your choice. For now, we'll demonstrate with a human file. And now you can see we have the pre-rigged template loaded in. Opening our layers panel now, you'll see that everything comes pre-labeled and pre-organized. Before we begin messing around with this template, there's a few key rules that I want to lay out. First off, do not delete anything. If there's a category you want to remove, you can replace it with an empty placeholder from the placeholders file. Secondly, PNGtuber Plus doesn't have an undo function or a quick save function, so please save frequently. For now, we'll actually save this model as a copy in our Your Saves folder by hitting Save Avatar, navigating to Tsukuru, Your Saves, and we'll call this test.save. From now on, whenever we save this model, we'll overwrite that file instead of the template in case something goes horribly wrong. Now to better understand what comes with each template. Accessing the Layers panel, you'll see that some layers come with a little triangle indicator. These correspond with major folders and subfolders within the sprites folder. As an example, we'll look at facial features. we'll see that facial features has a corresponding folder in the sprites folder. Opening that, we see it contains the corresponding subfolders for navigating files. Please use these as indicators for finding specific files if you ever get lost. Another thing to note is that these models do come preloaded with additional toggles. Assuming you are using default settings, your toggle should correspond with numbers. So 1 is neutral, 2 is drawing, 3 is gaming, 4 is drink, and 5 is a mic. Certain items in the layers panel actually start getting grayed out. This lets you know which layers are active on which toggle states. Even if an item is grayed out, you can still edit it. Now we'll go over what actions you can carry out in PNGtuber Plus. Up above, we already know load avatar and save avatar. We also have 3 additional functions for existing sprites: linking sprites, replacing sprites, and duplicating sprites. For 99% of the work needed to set up your customizable PNGtuber, you'll only be replacing existing sprites. Unless you are well versed with the program, I recommend against adding new sprites or linking sprites, as both can mess with the template. One last thing to note, something that's very cool about PNGtuber Plus is how expressive the models can be. This is done by having not only talk and mute, but also a blinking and non-blinking mode, which is why for some things, like the mic pose, you'll see that there are actually 2 layers, one for when you are actively talking, and one for when you're not. Any item that requires both a talking mode and a mute mode will be specified in the name itself. Now that we've gone over all the basic functions you'll need, let's try to set up the pit crew to the left as a PNGtuber model. Starting off with the skin tone, you can use either the pit crew itself or the infographic to determine what skin tone to use. In this case, we are using skin tone C in the pit crew. To update this, we'll click on the very first skin tone related asset, we'll go to Replace Sprite, navigate to Body, Skin Tone C, and you'll see that all of the assets that you need to replace the skin tone are conveniently put together in one folder. For now, we'll stick with the standard body type, click Open, and you'll see now that the body has changed to match the one in my pit crew. Clicking on the next one, the pointed ears, we'll hit Replace Sprite, we'll hit Ears Pointed, and there we go. The base body now matches that of the pit crew. And of course, you'll have to go and do this for the arms too, because right now, the arms don't match. So, doing this again, we'll select the sprite that we want to replace, Replace Sprite. We'll scroll until we see Mic Talk, hit Open, and now you see that whenever I talk, the arm color matches. We'll do the same for Mic Mute, and now this toggle matches the base color as well. I'll do this real quick for the rest of these. Now you can see that in every single one of the toggles, the skin tone matches. And that's pretty much it. All you're doing for setting up the PNGtuber Plus file is going through each of these preloaded layers and then changing it to whatever asset you personally want. In the case of browse, which is a substantially larger category to navigate through, I recommend having both the pit crew and the guides pulled up. On the pit crew, if you haven't noticed yet, there's actually only 6 different types of browse, and they are grouped together based off of emotion. I originally was using pose number 13, and I am using the brown pose, which is color B. We'll go back up through the directories until we can find facial features. We'll go to browse. We're going to go down to browse style number 13, which matches that of the infographic. And we know that this is color B. You'll see now that the browse also matched that of the pit crew. Let's try the mouth next. If we scroll down to our mouth subcategory, you see that there is a talk and a mute version. This means if I want my mouth styles to match, I need to upload a version for when I'm talking and a version for when I'm muted. If we refer to our guide and check the mouth, we'll see that :3 is mouth type 2. Now something cool here is because the talk and the mute forms are separated, you can mix and match which style you want for when you're muted versus when you're talking. For the purpose of this example though, I'll stick to using the same style for both mute and talk. So selecting the layer of choice, we'll go back to Replace Sprite. We'll navigate back up until we can access the mouth folders. We're looking at style number 2. And for now, I'm going to use the nude lip, which is pose A. And now I have the :3 mouth whenever I talk. And of course, I can go back and replace the same one for mute. Now you can see whenever I'm muted, I have a little :3 mouth. I'll speed through setting up the rest of this PNGtuber model. Alright, we're back. As you can see, the pic crew now exists as a PNGtuber model with all of the corresponding toggles. Simple as that. And of course, you can make as many as you want. Just remember not to overwrite any of your own files by accident. To set this up for streaming or for video calls, exit out of edit mode. You'll see right now on the screen that while I am actively tabbed into PNGtuber Plus, you can still see all the settings. As long as you're not actively tabbed into PNGtuber Plus, the UI will turn invisible on its own. Just make sure you have Allow Transparency enabled for whatever streaming program you're using. Lastly, to make sure you're getting the most out of this program, we'll briefly cover how to optimize your mic settings. First, make sure your mic is connected. Click on the little mic icon, and make sure you have the correct mic selected. After that, make sure your avatar is responding whenever you talk. Going down to the two sliders here, the bottom slider controls how sensitive your mic is, while the top slider controls how quickly your mic goes from talk to mute. If you experience a lot of background noise, I'd recommend shifting up the green bar a little bit, and if you want a more expressive model that has more noticeable pauses between sentences, you can increase the blue slider as well. When you're setting up the model, you might have noticed some of the animated sprites going out of sync, especially for things like the eyes. Don't worry, save your file normally and then reload it, and it should reset all the animation cycles. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed the pic crew or the PNGtuber model, or you just want to support what I do, consider joining my Ko-fi. At just $2 a month, you get access to bonus content in my server, along with discounts on future things. Otherwise, thank you again for supporting the channel. Remember to subscribe if you like seeing my unhinged projects, and I will see all you Tsubeans next time. Bye!